Thank you so much. And Madam Secretary, you are almost to the end, so congratulations. I just have a couple of questions. Are you aware that the law that was written by this Congress makes it clear that members of Congress are allowed to, entitled to enter any detention?
Representative Crockett, I apologize. I have to run to vote in another committee, Secretary, and Mr. Schmidt will chair, and you will get extra 15 seconds, but I apologize for that.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you so much
Mr.
for your
Chairman.
testimony.
Appreciate it.
Are you aware that the law makes it clear that members of Congress are allowed to enter any detention facility at any point in time in which they choose to?
Yes, I'm aware of the visitation and oversight responsibility, and we work every day to try to accommodate members of Congress while taking into account the safety of those individuals that are being
Let me be
detained
clear.
there.
At any time, correct?
So we've got Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, and look, I don't agree with her on everything politically, but I'll tell you what, this woman did her homework. She walks into this hearing locked and loaded, and she goes after DHS Secretary Kristi Noem on some stuff that honestly every American, left, right, or center, should be paying attention to. We're talking about Congress being illegally blocked from visiting ICE detention facilities, a measles outbreak they tried to sweep under the rug, a child named Liam who was basically grabbed and moved before lawmakers could show up, and then she finishes by dropping the Declaration of Independence on Noem's head. This is one of those rare moments in Congress where someone is actually doing their job, asking real questions, demanding real answers. So let's get into it.
Yes, I understand there's litigation in this area.
No, that's not my question. I'm not asking you about litigation.
Yeah.
I'm asking you what the law is, because let me put it to you this
There's
way.
an appropriations rider that talks about
Correct,
oversight.
and appropriations are
correct.
law, because you are asking us to
correct.
appropriate dollars right now for DHS, correct?
Correct.
And if we do that, you would take that as law, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so that is what the law states, yet somehow, myself and another colleague, Congressman Castro, we ended up giving a 7-day notice to the Dilley detention facility because I had actually already gone to El Paso before. And when I went to that facility and I asked them why it was that they were requiring me to do something that specifically my branch of government had dictated was not required, they said it was because of you. They said you were the one that said that they were not allowed to allow us entry unless we gave a 7 days heads up. Is that true?
Yeah. The law specifically states oversight and visitations, and we are working to facilitate those. And we're at that time working
did you give the instruction that members must give a 7 days heads up or not?
We had a policy in place that allowed us to get
Were you the one that ordered that policy?
I have a responsibility for ensuring everybody in that facility is going to be safe, and that I have adequate
no, but that's not
staff
my question, because the
conduct
problem,
a tour
let me tell you why we need to, reclaiming my time. The reason that I'm talking to you about this policy, and you're talking to me about safety, is because I did go into the Dilley detention facility. And let me tell you, they're not safe. This is why we need to conduct oversight, because your people continue. In fact, you have lost more lives in detention than anybody else. That is your record right now. So I don't expect that y'all are going to be the ones that are going to be best to keep them safe. This is why we are supposed to conduct oversight and not wait for you to give permission. In fact, after I left the Dilley facility, we were informed of a measles outbreak that was taking place in that facility. And another question I have, are you the one that ordered it to be reopened because that facility was closed under Joe Biden?
Those facilities were opened with the new administration. I'd have to look and see.
Okay, you're part of the new administration. Were you the one that ordered it to be open is my question.
I would have to see when it was opened, because I wasn't sworn in until 5 days after
Okay, well,
it
was reopened in March.
I would have to look at when
it was reopened in March of last year.
Well, then I'm sure that contract would have been renewed while I was secretary.
Speaking of contracts, as I have, actually, you know what? Let me continue on this line of y'all breaking the law. Are you familiar with a child by the name of Liam Ramos?
I am.
All right, so Liam was at this Dilley facility, and it just so happened that we had put in our 7 days notice, and y'all had grabbed him 6 days prior to our visit. So we were able to go and visit Liam. Are you aware of the court order that came down that released Liam from custody?
I am.
And are you aware that the judge said the case has its genesis in an ill-conceived and incompetently implemented government pursuit of daily deportation quotas, apparently even if it requires traumatizing children? This court and others regularly send undocumented people to prison and orders them deported, but do so by proper legal procedures. Are you aware of that?
Yes, and I would disagree with the judge on several
I'm
points
sure you would,
in
but can
there.
you tell me whether or not
That
you have a law
father-
degree?
Father chose to
Can you
to
tell
have
me whether or
Lehman
not you
be
have a
with
law
him.
degree?
If I have what?
A law degree.
No, I do not have a law
Okay,
degree.
and you do understand, because I can go through a bunch of court cases and orders that I disagree with from the Supreme Court, that ultimately, that is the order of the court. That is what you follow, and if you have an issue, you appeal it up, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. The court went on to say, apparent also is the government's ignorance of an American historical document called the Declaration of Independence. 33-year-old Thomas Jefferson enumerated grievances against a would-be authoritarian king over his nascent nation. Among others were, he has sent hither swarms of officers to harass our people. He has excited domestic insurrection among us, for quartering large bodies of armed troops among us. He has kept us among, in times of peace, standing armies without the consent of our legislatures. Are you aware that he wrote that? Do you know that he was writing about ICE that falls under you?
The judge?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. With that, I will yield, but I do have 2 UCs.
And there it is. Jasmine Crockett just cited the Declaration of Independence in a congressional hearing and drew a direct line between King George III and what ICE is doing under DHS right now. And before you roll your eyes, hear me out, because the receipts she laid out before getting to that point are hard to argue with. Let's start with Liam Ramos. This is a child being held in the Dilley Detention Facility in Texas, a facility that was shut down under Biden because of its conditions, then reopened by the Trump administration. Crockett's team submitted their 7-day notice to visit, and 6 days before they arrived, Liam was transferred out. 6 days, not a coincidence. That is a government agency moving a child to avoid congressional scrutiny. And when she shows up anyway and raises the alarm, a federal judge steps in and releases Liam, writing in the order that the government was running daily deportation quotas and traumatizing children. Those aren't Crockett's words, that's a federal judge. And what does Noem say? I would disagree with the judge. That's it. No law degree, no legal reasoning, just I disagree. Crockett handled that perfectly. She didn't get rattled. She calmly walked Noem through how the legal system works. You follow the order, and if you disagree, you appeal. You don't just ignore it because it's inconvenient. That's not how the rule of law works, and Crockett made sure everyone in that room understood it. Now here's what really gets me. After Crockett visited the Dilley facility and left, what happened? A measles outbreak. Measles. In 2025, a disease that has been essentially eradicated in the developed world is spreading inside a government detention facility where people have no ability to leave, no ability to protect themselves, and apparently not enough medical oversight to catch it before it became an outbreak. And DHS wants us to believe they are the ones best equipped to keep these people safe? Crockett said it herself. DHS has lost more lives in detention than any administration in recent memory. That is their own record. This is exactly why congressional oversight exists. This is exactly why the law was written to give members of Congress unrestricted access to these facilities. Not to play politics, not to get a soundbite, but because when the government is holding tens of thousands of people who cannot advocate for themselves, people who don't have lawyers, people who don't speak English, someone has to be able to walk through those doors unannounced and make sure what's happening inside is legal and humane. That's the whole point. And what Crockett exposed is that DHS was deliberately undermining that oversight. Noem couldn't even give a straight yes or no on whether she gave the 7-day order. She danced around it, talked about safety protocols, talked about litigation, and Crockett kept coming back, calmly and precisely, reclaiming her time and not letting her off the hook. That's what real oversight looks like. That's a legislator doing her job. Now, the Declaration of Independence moment, look, that's going to get called dramatic by some people. But think about what she was actually saying. The founders listed as grievances against the king things like sending swarms of officers to harass people, quartering troops without consent of legislators, keeping standing armies in times of peace without legislative approval.
And Crockett drew the parallel. You have an agency operating with armed officers, blocking elected representatives, defying court orders, and moving children in the middle of the night to avoid inspection. You may disagree with the political framing, but the facts she laid out to support that comparison? Those facts are documented. They are in court orders. They are in whistleblower reports. They are in the record. Here's my honest take. You can be pro-border security, and I am, and still demand that the government follow the law while enforcing it. Those two things are not opposites. In fact, if you want border enforcement to last, if you want it to survive court challenges and political shifts, it has to be done legally. Every time a child gets traumatized on a deportation quota, every time Congress gets blocked from a facility and a measles outbreak gets discovered, every time a judge writes an order calling the government ignorant of American founding documents, that is ammunition for the people who want to tear the whole enforcement system down. Jasmine Crockett walked into that hearing prepared, professional, and persistent. She had the law, she had the court orders, she had the name of a child. She had the whistleblower reports, and she held a cabinet secretary accountable in a way that very few members of Congress actually do anymore, on either side. Whatever you think of her politics, that deserves respect. Drop your thoughts in the comments, and if you want more breakdowns like this, make sure you subscribe. Let's keep going.